People become so involved in TV shows that they say it helped raise them into the person they are. But can you imagine saying that a TV show saved your life and it be true? I've got a list of 10 TV shows that actually saved someone's life. I'm your host for this one. I'm Joss Bedard. Thanks for coming back to Top 10 Beyond the Screen. Hang out with me until the end and I will respond to some of your comments. And make sure you come say hi to us outside of YouTube. We love chatting with you guys. You can find our social media links. They are down below. Also, thanks for sticking around during quarantine. We are obviously not at the studio. We are filming from home, but hopefully we will be back at the studio soon. In the number 10 spot is American Horror Story. In 2015, it was announced that the Boston Children's Hospital was partnering with the Hollywood special effects company called Fractured FX. The company does all the blood and gore on TV shows like American Horror Story. They partnered so that they could better train their surgeons, and they worked together to design surgical models that they could practice with. How cool is that? They said their designs contain, I quote, artificial tissues that bleed and pulsate, man-made blood vessels that feel like the real thing when doctors insert a catheter, and special gels that feel like brain tissue when an endoscope is guided through them. Because of their experience designing the realistic gore for American Horror Story, they were actually able to save lives in the real world. CEO of Fractured FX, Justin Rayleigh, said a lot of his team had aspirations in medicine, so they wanted to use their skills from special effects and help people, or save people. That is so cool. Up next, number 9 is Spongebob SQUAREPANTS. This wild story happened in 2015 when a 13-year-old boy with autism named Brandon Williams noticed his classmate Jessica Pellegrino choking on a piece of apple. He quickly rushed over to help her and performed the Heimlich maneuver, which saved her life. So what does this have to do with Spongebob SQUAREPANTS? When he was asked where he learned the Heimlich maneuver from, he said he saw it on the show when Patrick explains it. The young boy's dad explained and said, he picks up on things that most of us would miss and files it away in his head, and he can recall it all in an instant. That is how he knew exactly what to do. That is pretty remarkable. The number 8 spot is The Walking Dead. Things got serious real quick for a man named Kevin Sutton who was camping outside of a Best Buy. He was collecting cans of food and trying to raise awareness for the homelessness epidemic that was happening during that time. But while he was there, an argument apparently broke out between two other men, and he saw a man get shot in the stomach. Kevin said the man started shaking and was screaming for his life, saying that he was going to die. But thanks to some binge watching, Kevin said he was actually able to do first aid using a specific technique that he saw on The Walking Dead. And the man lived because of the technique that he used until the paramedics arrived. I need to pay attention more in TV shows. Moving on to spot number 7 is House. It's no secret that the medical shows we see on TV have some of the most insane diseases, and sometimes they happen in the real world too. There was a German man with severe heart failure who went to his doctor complaining of fever, blindness, deafness, and enlarged lymph nodes. His mix of symptoms puzzled some doctors, but there was one who said after just 5 minutes, he knew what the problem was. Dr. Jurgen Schafar, who works at the Center for Undiagnosed Diseases in Germany, was able to recognize his symptoms as cobalt poisoning. He revealed that he only knew that because he had seen it on an episode of Heist. Turns out that part of the patient's metal hip was leaking cobalt and chromium into his bloodstream, which caused the heart failure. In spot number 6 is X Factor. We all know that Simon Cowell is famous for his brutally honest insults, but there is one time that his harsh criticism might have actually saved a woman's life. Way back in 2007, a woman named Jackie Gray went on the British talent show and sang for the judges in hopes of winning the competition. After she finished singing, Simon said to her, "You have a very odd sounding voice. Something happens to your throat when you sing. It's quite raspy. It sounds as if you have someone else in there. It sounded like you were choking on something." Simon and his fellow judge at the time, Sharon Osbourne, told her to seek medical attention after the audition. It probably sounds like the harshest insult ever, but it's actually what saved her life. She went to see an ear, nose, and throat specialist who diagnosed her with a rare lung disease that could have killed her if she left it untreated. She talked about it and said, "I may not have got through on X Factor, but they gave me something much more important than that. They really did save my life." We are halfway through at number 5, and we have The Simpsons. A 10-year-old boy named Alex Hardy was eating lunch in his school cafeteria when he started to choke on his sandwich. He was struggling to breathe and turned completely purple, so some of his lunch ladies patted him on the back to try and dislodge the food, but they were unsuccessful. But then his best friend, a 10-year-old boy named Aiden Bateman, performed the Heimlich maneuver and the sandwich popped out of his mouth. Similar to the Spongebob example, the young boy said he learned this from the Simpsons' third episode called Homer at the Bat. During the episode, Homer chokes on a donut while his coworkers try to figure out how to help him. There's a poster behind him explaining the Heimlich maneuver, but his coworkers overlook it. It was actually the poster that stuck in the boy's head when he had to start doing it on his choking friend. Y'all are paying very close attention to TV shows. In the fourth spot on our list is SURVIVORMAN. In 2013, two Australian brothers were attempting to climb Mount Albert Edward on Vancouver Island when they got caught in heavy fog and became disoriented. They were able to survive the whole weekend because they used knowledge they claimed to have learned from the TV show SURVIVORMAN. They built a shelter, rationed the one bag of trail mix they had, kept warm, and signaled searchers with bright objects that they could find. But that was actually not the only time that the show saved lives. In 2008, a couple from Utah got trapped in the snow and were able to fashion snowshoes using materials cut out of their car seats, which again was something that they saw on the show. Taking over the third spot is Grey's Anatomy. A woman named Sarit Fishbane noticed a lump on her breast. She had it checked out by a doctor who ended up telling her that everything was normal and that it was likely to be milk because she was breastfeeding at the time. 6 months later, she still felt the large lump even though she had finished her breastfeeding. She didn't think anything of it until she saw an episode of Grey's Anatomy where a mother had to have a mastectomy after her cancer was mistaken for milk. The next morning after watching the episode, she made an appointment with a breast specialist, and after being sent for an emergency biopsy, the test showed that she did have cancer. She started chemotherapy right away, and that was followed by a mastectomy and radiation. Luckily, the treatments were successful and she is now cancer-free. Sliding into number 2 is MYTHBUSTERS. A woman named Teresa Booth was driving her 9-month-old daughter to daycare when her car hit a patch of ice and slid into a watery ditch. The icy water began flowing into her car, and she realized her daughter would be trapped in the car seat and freeze to death if the water had reached her. So she crawled into the back seat and unstrapped her daughter from her car seat. But when she tried to open the car door, it wouldn't budge. After panicking, she remembered an episode that she saw on MYTHBUSTERS. In the show, the host Adam Savage had been in a similar situation and he could not escape a car until the pressure equalized in the vehicle. So Teresa tried that technique and waited until the pressure equalized in the car, and when it did, the door easily opened. She held her daughter over her head and made it to the road. Neither of them suffered from any injuries. Our number 1 spot is Curb Your Enthusiasm. A man named Juan Catalan had a problem after his brother was in jail for a drive-by shooting. A 16-year-old girl who testified against him had later been murdered, and that was when he found himself in jail as well for being a number 1 suspect in the homicide investigation. But he had an alibi. He claimed that he and his 6-year-old daughter had been at the Dodgers game at the time of the murder. He had ticket stubs to prove it, but no video footage of them could be found. But with pure luck and coincidence, HBO was also at the Dodgers game that day filming scenes for the TV show Curb Your Enthusiasm. After hours of looking through HBO footage, his lawyers found a shot of him and his daughter eating hot dogs in the stands behind the actor Larry David. The footage also had time codes proving that there was no way he could have committed the murder, and after 5.5 months in prison for a crime he did not commit, he was released. That is just a blessing. Damn. Alright guys, let me know what you're thinking of this list down in the comments and give it a thumbs up so I know you enjoyed it. But for now, I'm going to check out some comments from some of my other videos. Steven Brewer says, Courtney Love doesn't have to do anything to destroy her career. There was never a career. Okay then. So you're not a fan of Courtney Love, clearly. Colin Featherston says, Josh, did you just say regarding Deborah Messing, her tweet on gun violence backfired on her? I honestly did not mean to make that little joke. I didn't realize that's how I said it until you pointed it out. That's clever, but I didn't mean to do that. Ryan Humphrey says, people are way too sensitive. That is a fact. Very, very true fact. It's actually really annoying. Flaysda says, I love how you guys are fair and give the benefit of the doubt to celebs, unlike all these top 10 channels getting this condemning tone and assuming rumored means proven. Listen, I always try to stay equal. Of course, I'm human. I'm gonna have my opinions about certain celebrities and things like that. However, we're just finding this information online and we are giving it to you. This is like, we're not making it up in our heads, you know? So if I wasn't there, I really can't say if something's 100% true. That's how I see it. All right, guys, that's all I got. I'm getting out of here. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell so you get notified when we post our next video. I've been your host, Joss. I will see you next time.